that part.
You gotta look out for with your little
I-
sign.
Oh, yeah, I know, I've got to get used to that. Is it true during a town board intermissions that it's all broadcast? Great.
This is the 6th.
Okay.
It's free.
All right.
All right, so I guess we'll get going. Good morning, everybody. I'm Peter Nelson, and I'm was the chair of this committee for the community preservation plan that was appointed by an ad hoc committee that was appointed by the town board. Larry DeWitt is also on the committee. Christy DeBoer is also on the committee, and Aaron O'Nowan, our town supervisor, is here representing the town. We have because of the open meetings law, we only have one or two maximum town board members are allowed to attend this, or else it's considered an official meeting. And so this is, we wanted to set up some very sort of informal information sessions for people about this community preservation plan and the community preservation fund, because it is a new thing for the town of Rochester, and we want to get the word out and give people an opportunity to learn about it, ask questions, and get feedback from people. Also, it's a very important part of this is to for us to hear from people about what they feel about it. So having said that, we have a very brief PowerPoint that was set up by Ted Fink, who was the planner that worked with our committee. And he has done a bunch of these throughout the state. This was his 8th one, so he's very skilled at it. And so basically go through a very brief explanation about what the community preservation plan, community preservation fund, and the RETT, the real estate transfers tax, all mean. And the town board has put these forward as proposed town local laws. And they have a public hearing scheduled for public comment on July 11th at their meeting there. And in between now and then, we're having 3 of these public information sessions so people can, understand a little bit more about it. We do have an FAQ that we just frequently ask questions that we've devised, and there's some of those right up by the back door that will hopefully answer questions. And that we also have maps that were generated through the process of creating the community preservation plan, which I'd invite you to look at, and I'll explain more about what those are. There's also a couple of printed copies of the community preservation plan that we brought, although all of these things are available online, and there have been public notices sent out by the town board and town clerk. So having said that, we'll figure out how to do this. You have to share with me, correct?
You can share your screen.
Okay. Oh, because I'm a co-host, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can share my screen. Okay, and then do this right.
Mhm. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
And then you can start playing the slideshow.
And do I have to share my video, right?
No, you don't
Oh,
need
you don't?
to.
Okay,
You can keep
never
your
mind.
video off.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll
Now
just-
your screen is being shared.
Okay, and to start play from the start.
Mhm.
That. Okay, live stream. I'll give it all this. So that looks pretty good, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is as I said, this is a very brief PowerPoint that Ted Fink and Rick Lederer Barnes put together, mostly Ted Fink, who is the planner that was working with the community preservation plan committee that we're part of. And it's just a very brief overview. This was presented to the town board in advance of the actual program being presented to them, but I figured it's a good way to introduce people into it and then kind of, stream off of that. Okay, what is a community preservation plan? Towns can, there was a New York State law, I think it was the Hudson Valley, I'm blanking on the name of the law, that was expanded on and opened up into certain counties in the Hudson Valley. Ulster, Putnam, Westchester are now eligible. They've had these plans that have been in New York State. It started in Long Island. Warwick has one. They established one on their own. going through the state legislator. There was legislation that was enacted that opened it up to a broader area, including Ulster, Putnam, and Westchester, as I said. So now towns are eligible to establish a community preservation fund, which is basically a repository for monies that can go into various priorities that the town board and advisory committee would be able to spend or utilize down the future. A good example of this locally here is something that Marbletown did. They did one last year, and they currently have a property that they've already acquired with the funds and a grant, which is an important part of it as well. That is the Osterhout Flats, which is on the way up to the elementary school. So the community preservation fund, the community preservation plan, and basically the idea is with the plan is to identify areas of priority areas within the town of different emphasis that we the town would be interested in protecting. And the priority areas that were established were clean water, agriculture, biodiversity, scenic views, recreation, and historical and cultural things. And these were not ideas that we just invented. We went through and found and researched and recorded a bunch of existing plans within the town of Rochester, including going back to as far as the 1969 comprehensive plan, the national heritage, or the town heritage plan, the open space plan that town. So we resourced all these documents, and this were created by different members of the town over the years. And it was really interesting to look at is that we have not changed anything. These are the same priorities largely that they were looking at, the town residents felt were important in 1969 are still important today. And so we are basically moving that forward with this plan and trying to create a way to expand on that, if you will. And a community preservation fund is essentially, it's another tool that the town can use in order to utilize to establish areas for people for public benefit. It's like the zoning in a town is one tool. Conservation easements that are done privately are another tool. This would be another tool like that. So we have established those 6 priority areas, and within those 6 priority areas, we've also identified subsets of areas. So clean water might incorporate aquifer protection, but it also might incorporate protected trout streams, which there are a ton of them in the town of Rochester, and clean water for agriculture and things like that. So water is a good example. So each one of those 6 categories has a subset of anywhere from 3 to 7 or 8 different subsets. And so all of those things went into making the community preservation plan. And there's I think there are 52 data sets that were all entered and cross-referenced and scored essentially to identify properties within the town of Rochester that have one area or another that might be interesting, or some of them have all of them, as far as I know. So there's not that means that those lands are going to be selected. It basically becomes a tool for a future town board and a future community preservation committee, advisory committee, to use to identify different properties. And then if somebody wanted to sell the piece of property to the town, they could reach out to the town might reach out to them. But the whole thing is predicated on a willing seller and a willing buyer. There's somebody who's required to sell their land. Nobody will be asked to sell their land. They'll be asked if they're interested. If somebody says no, end of story. That's the way it goes. So how is the CPF funded is that they are, the proposal is to incorporate a real estate transfer tax. And the real estate transfer tax would be paid by the buyer of the property. So somebody approaches you about buying your property, they would be paying a tax on that property, basically a one-time tax for that sale. And the town has put forward the proposal to make it 1.5% of that sale. The maximum that could be by state law is 2%. They opted not to do that. And different towns have done different levels of taxing for that at different percentages. And any sale of a property would have to go up for a public hearing and then a vote by the town board for anything to happen, if they decided to do it. And that could not necessarily be buying property. It could also importantly be used to get preservation rights, development rights, farming rights. And so if there's farmland that needs to be protected, that's something that would totally be usable. The person would still own their property, but it would remain a farm. And that in that way, it's sort of in the same way that a conservation easement could work. So that's another option. It's not all about buying property. It's about potentially buying rights or protecting rights of something. The idea with this tax is that they have the town board has put forth a proposal to use the 3-year average of the median sale of the residential home sales in the town of Rochester, and that is $447,000, $447,000 is the median 3-year average for sales. And so anything below that, no tax. Anything above that, it would be that 1.5%. And what's
1.5% of the amount above.
Above, thank you, like the distinction. Above that amount would be so 450,000 would that $3,000 would have a 1.5%. And what's great about that, in my opinion, is that it's higher than the Ulster County average, but it also protects the lower end entry level and middle entry level properties, so that people, first time buyers or lower income buyers, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, there wouldn't be any impact of this at all. Very importantly, it does not affect property taxes. And again, this is a tax that would be borne by the buyer of the property, not the seller. So that, and it's totally participatory whether you want to or not. Another important part of this program, the Community Preservation Fund and the Community Preservation Plan, is it opens up to the town the opportunity for state, federal, and private philanthropy and grants. And just using as an example, Warwick, which adopted this in 2006, had basically achieved almost 1-for-1 not matching grants, 1-for-1 grant and philanthropy dollars for every dollar that has been collected by the real estate transfer tax. It's approximate, but that's millions of dollars. It's 17 million, approximately $17 million since 2006, that they've been able to achieve, which is no small thing. The town needs this fund in order to be able to access those grants. So it's a real benefit for that. The benefits for the plan is I think my feeling is that we all live here because we love the area, right? We're drawn to this area or born in this area, and we love it. And I know it's a concern I hear from many people about the changes that have happened here. I'm not against change, but I do think that we need to, we want to protect the areas and protect the rural character, which was the original design of this program, was to protect the character of the area of the town. It is a benefit that would be experienced by everybody in the town, regardless of income. So public area, public park, rail trail access, stream access, things like that benefit everybody in the town, regardless of income, age, and everything else. It has been shown to boost property values in the towns that have it, because it makes it a more attractive place for people to live. So that's that. So how does the tax work? I pretty much went over this, but the sale that is proposed is over the median sale would be 447. Anything above that, everything above that would experience a 1.5% tax. Again, that would be paid by the buyer, not the seller. And anything below that would be exempt from it. Anything that's already protected, there's a lot of property in the town that already has conservation easements on it. Those are ineligible. So as I mentioned, that this is something that we have expanded on over the years for, for the priorities for the town that have been established since the 1969 comprehensive plan. So we are not inventing something new here. We're basically expanding upon the priorities that residents of the town over the decades have experienced. This is just some data about town of Rochester. The 80% of the community members own their own homes in Rochester. The Community Preservation Fund would protect the value and protect open space. And just some data here about future generations, and 19% of residents are under 18. And so having open space available to them is a real benefit. I see this morning I was out on the rail trail early and just saw kids and dogs and people out there of all ages, from geezers to little kids. Okay, the plan that we worked on, and there is a hard copy here and a hard copy there, and maps there that identify the different 6 areas, is something that our committee worked on for months with Ted Fink, and we have created 103 pages, 106 page document, which is an impressive. It's all available online, and it's an impressive read. I learned a lot doing it, and it really made me very proud to be a part of this community because of the work that previous generations and previous people that have worked on comprehensive plans, have worked on the town boards over the years, have really worked to create the town that we live in today. And this expands and is another tool in the toolkit going forward to protect it. If the plan is enacted, the town would appoint a Community Protection Fund Advisory Committee. That committee would meet is needed. I don't think it is required. I don't know what the requirements are about how often they have to meet, but that is comprised of town residents, and it's mandated that farmers are included in that, at least one farmer. And the idea is to have a diversity of voices in that to identify potential uses for the Community Preservation Fund monies. And then they would either be approached by somebody, or they might approach somebody. I know in Warwick, they bought a piece of property, they approached the seller because they felt it was an important piece of property for the town benefit, and that's how that happened. So that it could go either way there. That committee would identify properties based on the funds that they have, and then also work on grants with the town board to achieve money to pay for the properties or the development rights, as the case may be. It would be presented to the town board. They would decide, yes, we're interested in moving forward with this. It would always, all of these things would go out to public hearing. So there's complete transparency there about potentially, about potential purchases with that, whether they're open purchases for property or the development rights for a property. And it's important to, and the question that I've gotten just in the last couple of weeks is, does it matter how big the property is? Does it have to be 100 acres? Does it have to be 50 acres? It can be tiny, right? Because those tiny pieces of property are actually pretty attractive, because sometimes you might want to have access to a rail trail, or you might want to have access to a creek that could be a public recreation or hunting areas or something like that. So those access to the existing state forest, or to protect the border adjacent to properties, are one of the priorities that in the criteria that we went through. So size in this case really does not matter at all. I pretty much went through this. These are the areas that we went through: drinking water, clean water, farming, wildlife habitats, biodiversity, historic places, scenic beauty, outdoor recreation. And those are the 52 subsets of the criteria there are what were incorporated into the data in order to get these maps. And then let me just I'm almost done, and we'll just take some questions. So in each of these areas and those subsets, there were priority scales, right? So there was a score essentially that is attached to properties in the town based on whether, is it sitting on an aquifer, is it adjacent to an aquifer, is it next to a stream, is it adjacent to a property that is next to something else? So there might be a high, medium, and score. And score does not really matter whether, it matters in the sense that that is a tool for a future committee and the town board to look at as a reference. But it's not like one property is better than the other. You could have a lower score that might be more attractive because it is next to a historic building or protects, provides parking for an open trail or something like that. So the score doesn't matter, but it's part of the criteria. And so when you look at the maps that were created, they were there's a high, medium, and low priority for each of the areas, as well as an overall map. And then those does not mean one is better than the other. It just means that this might have a higher priority for aquifer than this one over here. And so those are sort of color-coded reference. And that again is a tool for future advisory committee and future town board to consider it, and the town to consider as part of the whole program. So just a little bit about the timeline. Again, this is the first of these public information sessions that we've organized. We have one again next Wednesday. That'll be at the Accord Fire Company Social Hall. And then there's going to be one on Sunday, July 7th in the afternoon up at Rochester 2 Social Hall. And we felt that it was very important to get this out there, to give people an opportunity to learn about it, ask questions, and voice their opinions about it, because this will all be decided in a public referendum this fall if the town board votes on it and passes for it. So it'll be on the ballot potentially in the general election on November 5th. So again, the public hearing for this matter is scheduled for July 11th. The town has to do a seeker application for this. They've all been negative declarations. Everywhere else have done it, which negative declaration is a good thing for people, just so they're clear about that. And then it needs to be filed with if the town board votes to pass it, it'll be filed with the county clerk and within a certain 90 days before the window of the referendum. So that's pretty much what I have for this. And
Peter, before you open
Yeah.
to questions,
Yeah.
could you maybe demonstrate how people can access the documents? Or I could,
yeah, I can do it online. You mean to the town website?
yeah, if you go to the,
Town Rochester.
you'll stop to share.
Do we have copies of the back here, Peter?
Yes.
Well, people can take that and get it off of that.
There, yeah, we put everything on our e-code site.
You in the back there.
So yeah, now starting to share again.
Oh, houses?
No, it'll be under code.
Yeah,
So, yeah. We're recording this and streaming this, so I just want to do a brief
So
demo.
share this
Yeah,
and share that.
and then go to our town website. Okay, so under codes and ordinances, click on that.
Yeah.
And go to public documents on the left hand. All the way on the left, keep going to the black bar. So just move your cursor over to the left.
Oh, there.
Yeah, public documents. So this is where our draft, and then go to legislation. So that's where all of our draft legislation is.
Okay.
The first category is the plan documents. So this is the plan itself. And then all the appendixes that are referenced in the plan. And then if you scroll down to the next category, that's the draft local laws for public hearing, everything we've set for 2024. So the ones that are relevant to this topic are I, H, and G. And local law H is the actual plan. So that's why I posted all those documents at the start. But then the fund is established with G, and then the transfer tax itself is established with I. So that's where you can access all those documents at home. And take a look at them and get to know them. And we have copies here, but you're probably not going to read 106 pages while you're here today. Or maybe you're an incredible reader.
Yeah, again, I would strongly recommend that people take a look at that plan document. It's an impressive body of work, and it goes through all of our methodology that we went through with the planner. The references, all the documents that we use, that existing documents that were created by the town over the decades. And it's a very, very interesting document. And I think that, you know, if nothing else, you're going to learn from it. And, you know, the idea is to, for everybody to be able to see this and understand it and ask questions. And I think if anybody has wants to start with questions, I know you have a question.
Well, I missed the first 15 minutes or so, and I apologize for that, but my understanding is you purchased acreage from a landowner in the town, maybe a parcel of their land or all of their land or whatever. Is that correct? The town?
That's one of the options. It is, as I said, it's not, you know, it gives the town, what's that?
How else would you get it if you didn't buy it?
Somebody could donate it, but you can also, the other thing that is available in this plan is that if you wanted to, if you were a farmer, you could protect it by, you know, limiting farming rights to it for the future.
So who owns it then? The town? At that point?
If it was purchased, yes, it would be the town.
If it's donated, it's the town.
Correct.
So I have a question. The cost of future tax revenues, who's gonna bear that?
Well, it depends on the parcel, first of all. It depends on the usage,
Right?
and it depends on whether they do it. I mean, it's not a, that's a,
But if I had 15 acres and I said, okay, town, you can buy this off of me because I'm one of these selected, whatever, you make. That 15 acres that I'm selling to the town is purchased by the town, which is actually the taxpayers around me. And then the taxes that I would have paid in the future on those 15 acres now will be lost. You won't be getting that revenue from me.
It's basically done dormant.
Are you gonna
It's
take,
done dormant.
wait, no, let me finish.
So it's off the
You're
tax
going-
rolls, and it's basically not good for, you know, not good for the town. You know, it makes, it increases our tax. And everything with the water and all that, the state already has regulations on everything you talked about. And you're just gonna make it tougher on people, that's all you're
You're
doing.
you're gonna increase my taxes on my little 10 acres that I kept. I'm gonna actually be paying more to, and everybody else around me is gonna be paying more because that 15 acres is now owned by the town, and who's gonna pay the future tax revenue on
I
that?
cannot see buying property at market value. If there's,
Especially
if there's
this
property that's gonna be taken
Especially in
on
this
back
seller's
taxes,
market.
maybe look at that at a cheaper rate, where it's a dirt cheap buy and develop it. You're talking about rail trails and all that. There's a lot of people that have ATVs, dirt bikes, side by sides. We can do that. If we take the property, we can log it, make money for the town instead of it in a tax program.
well, it's entirely voluntary. You know, you don't have to sell it. You know, it doesn't, and I think that one thing to look at is the public benefit.
You're missing my point though. Who's paying
Well,
the
there
taxes?
is no
Who's
public
gonna pay the taxes? Somebody will sell it to you. Somebody will gift it to the town.
And you
somebody
talk
will
about
figure
smaller
it out.
property. Is any of that property by any of the committee members? If it is, that's a conflict of interest right off the bat.
Well, yeah, there is a conflict of interest law.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
So none of that property should be ever considered.
I would agree with you.
And we need to make one more point, and then that's it. When this land now is part of the town, and it's accessible to everybody, right? It becomes town, becomes a place everybody can go, is that right?
If it's a purchase, if it was like access to a rail trail, yes, I think that is.
What if it's not?
What is it?
What if it's not?
Then I don't know whether the town would purchase it. I don't know.
Okay, and if, all right, so now access, trash control, it becomes an attractive nuisance, it become a party spot for some people. Parking can get out of hand, you've seen it at the depot, it's
Yeah.
happened at Blue Hole. Liability and injuries, who's gonna be responsible for somebody tripping and falling or getting themselves injured on this property? Compliance with federal ADA mandates, how about acceptable for people with disabilities, who's gonna pay for that? And what about bathroom facilities? If you got a 13-acre parcel and you got 100 people that can come there, you better have a bathroom.
Well, I think that's all part of future discussions about whether,
Who pays for that?
what's that?
The 10%, you might actually.
Yeah, there is a provision in the existing law, thank you, Larry, for 10% of the community preservation fund monies is usable for the property and for the maintenance of the property. So that's, and I think that making the presumption that that the town is gonna buy property and turn it all into park, I don't think that's
So what are they gonna do with it? How am I gonna benefit from
So clean air, clean water, very hard to be very tangible. Food.
The state already has
Can I finish?
regulations. They already have, it.
But
we
the
don't need to be
town
strict about
doesn't
it.
necessarily need.
No, it
to-
sounds like you're just gonna make it, try to make it so that people can't use land. It's gonna be a tax burden to us, it comes off the tax rolls, and nobody can touch it.
it? Right.
So
No,
what I was gonna
that's-
add on
that's
to what
bunch of
Larry
bull.
was saying
But
is that
when it's a
this
private
is-
property,
Hey, guys, just
they
one
offer, nobody can touch.
There's basically, we have Mohawk Preserve, we have Minnewaska Preserve, there's lots of preserves around this area for people to go walk and hike and all that. Basically, we need the area so young couples can start developing families in this
Right,
area.
there's only
And
eight.
nobody's
Right.
not forced to shut things down.
If nobody's-
You can't support it because you don't have enough people here.
Right.
People can't even be
18%.
I mean, the economy right now is have retailers saying they're closing 3,200 locations.
So assumption.
I mean, what are you crazy, raising taxes on the people? It's crazy, that's
It didn't-
insane.
You know, the things that have been codified and proven by data is that this has benefited the communities that have done it. I'll put that out there.
Which one? Warwick?
It's benefited Warwick, it's benefited Red Hook, initially Marbletown,
We can't afford. the
Gardner,
taxes of
New Paltz.
You're talking about areas that are already built up, so yeah, they have a little park area, that benefits them. We have open area here, we don't need to have little things shut down.
This doesn't constitute that the town's gonna buy land and it's gonna be all become park. This also includes the ability to do conservation easements where the landowner would still own the land. And they are paid for their development rights and the property is then protected in different ways. And does not mean public
And
access,
it's like
that
there's no
doesn't mean it's
restrictions on the
public
land,
You can't guarantee
that's all
that.
it seems like.
You can't guarantee that. The points that I made are real things that could happen. You can't guarantee that they will.
Those are decisions that will be made by a future advisory committee, recommended to the town board, will vote in, and public opinion on any acquisition.
But
is
that
up there.
doesn't mean that here and now, people in this town do agree with what's gonna happen.
Of course.
You
I
can
mean, was
say
there a
that,
surplus
but
of
you
money
can
in the 20-year budget? In the town budget, was there a surplus of money?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Was there a surplus of money in the 23 budget for the town?
we have, no,
No,
not yet.
So then we shouldn't even be looking at buying any. If we don't have a surplus of money,
Right.
no, we shouldn't be looking at buying
Don't do
nothing.
that in
It's a-
the-
it's a-
don't do that in the-
It's
You run a town like you run a house. You don't go buy it and just, I mean, right now, people's credit card debt is at the bottom of the bed. You know, the economy is crashing and people, you're talking about buying something, raising taxes on people?
It's-
That's insane.
Again, it's not raising property taxes, it's a tax that would be borne by the buyer, not the seller.
Well, okay, so you take all that money and you don't, and you purchase a property in the town out of that money and nothing gets raised on the taxpayer, that would be okay.
But you can't
But
guarantee
don't
that.
raise anything on the taxpayer.
You're not guaranteeing that.
Where is the tax write-off going to come from? Like, if these, whatever parcel it is that you purchase, okay? Where does the tax write-off come from? Where, the future tax,
revenue.
where is that revenue coming from? Is the town going to pay tax on that? Because we are the town,
Right.
so explain that to me.
I think it'd be
I
the same
think
thing
it's
as, you know, any property that the town currently owns. It would be the same thing. Am I correct about that?
Okay, so
Yeah,
we,
Not enough
we're right now paying, are we not, for the rail trails in our town?
for the
Are,
fire.
are any
company.
other, like, we, the town people are paying for that,
We're
correct?
having enough.
So now we're just going to add another
More burden to us?
few
Yeah.
parcels that we're gonna have to pay for? How much, you know, what we're paying now, I'm sure isn't going to offset what you're going to lose from the tax.
And I'll mention one time again, we are not Warwick residents with Warwick incomes. We are not Red Hook residents with Red Hook incomes. Most of us are. A lot of them, the city people are maybe, but the locals here, that the lifeblood, that built this community, can't afford to live in Warwick or Red Hook, otherwise we would.
I mean, if you guys think of that benefit, you guys can welcome move to those areas. And leave our area alone.
I think I think we can acknowledge that a very valid point has been made, and I think looking into the impacts of what the tax revenue can have would be a really good thing to do ahead
Sure.
of some of the.
Yep, sure. Dorian?
In that regard, we need to have numbers. I know property, open lot, 19 acres, 2,700 taps. So it's relatively insignificant. You're not gonna own 100 of those type of properties. So people need to have a number.
Sure.
So $2,700 per year, I'm sure it can be resolved somewhere, or it's concerned, but we need to have a numbers.
Sure, yep, okay.
Because
taken.
otherwise it becomes
Yep.
continuous discussion.
And, you know, like I said, this is a very informal public information session for exactly this reason. That this is a new, what's that?
Like I said, I have to say, I respect and appreciate the fact that you have an open place for us to talk about it.
Yeah, and you know, the part of this is that we as the ad hoc committee and, you know, the town board that is members that are here and then that are listening and watching that, this is gonna be all part of the consideration, if you will, about people's concerns, you know? I mean, me personally, I hear from many people about changes in the area and how they hate it. And it isn't the same place that we were when, you know, I mean, I've been here for only 35 years. So I'm, you know, but a little more. But anyway, I've only been here for that amount of time, and the changes that I've seen is I love this area because I came up here for the outdoor part, for fishing and everything else before
Changes I've seen is like more restrictions on the racetrack.
What's that?
I've seen more restrictions on the racetrack. That's the changes I've seen.
There's no
Because that
restriction
racetrack
on
was here
racetrack.
before anybody bought their house and was bitching about it.
Right. Well,
That's the changes that's coming this way, the bad changes.
you know, the thing, I think it's important to recognize that, you know, that communities change over time, right? And can I finish? Can I finish?
Wait, let me talk for a second. Because what it is they bitched about the racetrack. There's all the weekend people, they come up and they didn't want the noise. They went back to the city on the week. We have the quiet during the week and we want some entertainment on the weekend, but they want to shut it down. That's not right.
They don't bitch, they share the experience. And if they come here and stay on weekends, they have a right to express their opinion, but
The
nobody
racetrack was there before they
They were
buying the
Nobody
the
lives
racetrack
right there.
So come on, you
People
can't go
live
and
there,
bitch about
so
something.
nobody They're not bitching, it's wrong expression.
You know, first of all, this is
You need to respect them as well.
not about the racetrack, but
Well,
I
it's
take
about- it's a
your
general
point. I
impulse.
take your point. But I think it's important to recognize that, you know, that communities do change over time. And that what's important about this program is that we're not instituting a new change. We're incorporating the desires and the comments that were given throughout the town over decades. That's a priority. Let me finish. Let me finish. These are the priorities that we researched in all those previous documents that were town documents done by citizens with input from the citizen and residents of the town. That's what we base this on, the desires of the town. And it's, you know, again, this program is predicated on willing buyer, willing seller. And it is up to public referendum for the tax. And it is up to a committee to advise the town. And it is up to the town board member, whoever that may be, and it's also open to public hearing. So it's a completely open process to how this was created and how it's set up to move forward. So that's, you know, we've tried to do the best we can to identify the areas of
I'm sure
importance.
these committees in the past didn't purchase property.
Excuse me?
I'm sure these committees in the past.
No,
did
they
not
didn't.
purchase
No,
property.
no, this is a new program.
Yeah, a new program that's gonna put burden on the taxpayer.
That's,
Peter, can you maybe walk through the process again, where we're at, make it you know, where
the timeline.
the timeline, where
Yep.
we're at, that this is gonna ultimately, if the board passes the laws, this is something that's decided by the voters.
Yep. So the timeline going forward is we have, this public information session. We have 2 more, one next Wednesday night, one on July 7th, with people to talk about this and answer questions, look at the maps, look at the program.
So the same thing.
For the same thing, yep.
Couldn't think of today.
Yep, exactly. That's why we did it. We did it on a Saturday, we did one on a Sunday, we did one on a weekday evening to, allow people from different jobs and opportunities to come and express their voices, and ask questions. And, a lot of times, there is a FAQ back there that identifies a lot of the questions that have come up, and to try and, give people information in advance of these questions to generate more questions and legitimate answers. So the timeline going forward, we have the 3 public information sessions. There is a public hearing scheduled by the town board on July 11th, and then it'll be a regular town hearing, so people can come express their opinions about that, for or against, whatever you want to say. The town board has to do a seeker, which they've already started in order to do this. The town board has to vote on this. There are 3 separate laws, as Aaron said. The first law is to establish the Community Preservation Fund to allow that to happen with an advisory committee. They have to adopt the Community Preservation Plan, which is that book right there, or it's available online. And then the third one is the real estate transfer tax, the RETT, and they have to vote that in. That law is open, subject to public referendum. If the town board votes to move forward with it, that goes up to public referendum, would go up to public referendum on November 5th. So, yes, John.
I wonder if there'd be a way to sort of hypothesize or guess going forward, say 5 years from now, if certain lands would be protected, if there'd be a way to roughly figure out monetarily how much that would subtract and put a burden on
Projections?
yeah.
It's
gonna come up with these things.
Yeah, it is.
Some way
Yeah.
to know.
It would be pure speculation,
Right.
because every town's priorities are different. We have been talking to other towns. We, the committee, have been talking to other towns that have enacted this throughout the state. In addition to New Paltz, Gardner, Marbletown, Red Hook, and Warwick. There's also Chatham has adopted it. They're originally started with I think 5 towns in Long Island, east end of Long Island, the very east end of Long Island, that established it because they felt it was being developed, and there was a way to provide access to beaches and areas for people that could not afford to buy a giant mansion. And so it's been, I think, overall successful in many of these communities for providing people with access for this. And so that's but again, the priorities, to answer your question. I think we can show what other towns have collected and what other towns, I don't know if you were here, but Warwick has been able to get grant money, matching grant money from state and federal sources, as well as private entities, private organizations to accept money into the fund. People can donate land into the fund. That's another option. They're working on potential properties that are in Red Hook. I think they're working on an acquisition of a property that part of it is carved out for affordable housing with a developer working with it. So it's an ongoing thing, but I think we can provide with some data on what other towns have
Because that seems to
benefited.
be the major
Yeah.
pushback.
Right, I'll say in New Paltz, they're definitely not looking at the town owning land, they're really focusing on farmland protection through conservation easements.
But there's no guarantee, you're not making guarantees.
No, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. And nothing, I'll just say right now, there's no guarantees on any of this, right? There's no guarantee on future policies. There's no guarantee on future tax revenue. There's no guarantee on the economy. Your guarantee is as good as mine. We're not here to make guarantees. We're here to just provide information about this proposed laws and proposed plan, and just, answer people's questions. I don't think you'll find a guarantee on anything.
No.
About tax revenue projection, school enrollment, any of that stuff is,
But what we do know here and now is that we are not in a position to buy it. We're not. we're not in the position to increase our tax burden. We're not in the position to spend more money. In this economy, the way it's going, we can barely afford a bag of groceries. I certainly can't think about the fact that we should start voting on something that could potentially cause our taxes to go up.
It won't change your property.
You can definitely.
You can't guarantee that. You
I can't guarantee that.
Guarantee.
But it's not part of the thing, because it's not tied to property taxes. It's tied to
And
this.
how is it taken off the revenue, the tax?
How are they gonna purchase property?
You're saying
The
indirect.
property is purchased by the Community Preservation Fund.
So who puts
Where's the
money
funds?
into
Where's
that?
that money?
The
Our
funds,
taxpayers.
the fund is funded by the real estate transfer tax that the buyer of a property would pay. That goes into the fund. And it's exclusively used for this
It
purpose.
still comes.
So they can't take any other money from the taxpayers, just from that fund.
Adhering to the plan, following the plan, the money in the Community Preservation Fund is used exclusively to adhere to the plan.
Okay, so now when the real estate bubble pops and the house value come back to normal and they're basically, basic value is $350 on the house, there's not gonna be any money going into that fund.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
So that whole plan is dead before.
It's not dead.
Well, how can it not be dead?
Well, if there's no revenue in the fund, they can't do anything, right? So
it's pretty much dead in the water.
So it just depends on what happens. It would depend on just what happens. It's speculation on what happens.
Because house prices already dropped, starting to drop.
Yep. And
And the Fed just came out and said there's 63 banks that are failing right now, and more on the way. I mean, they're bail-ins, they're not bailouts anymore, they're bail-ins. So the taxpayers, you might kind of go, and they might just lose all their savings, their 401k, everything. You know, time's gonna get tough.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get pretty.
Yeah, Emily?
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification I think is helpful and then ask the clarifying question. I think it's an important point you made that the fund for purchasing is something that's it would be a new fund from buyers that opt in, correct, above a certain sale price.
Correct, above the
So it's
median.
not coming out of current taxes.
No.
But then once the town wants to use that new fund to purchase a property, this is the question. That's when the town board votes on whether or not to vote. So that's an interesting thing to me, because that to me sounds like these valid concerns that are being raised about how much that property now that the town wants to buy with the new fund, that's the concern I think you're raising about. If the town purchases that, now that comes off of the taxes. Now whoever owns that, the seller is no longer paying. That to me is like an important consideration that the town can work to say, okay, when we make votes on whether or not to purchase properties, this is an important thing that we're gonna evaluate and put out to the public. So everyone, you know, we're saying we can't come up with a lot of hypothetical numbers, but I think it sounds like once the actual purchase is happening, we will have very concrete numbers. We'll be
Yes.
able to say, this is how much tax revenue is paid for currently on that property, so that's what it would look like to be like losing it off of the voter rolls, and then make our assessment, which if it's a town board vote, will be a public hearing again, and people will be able to say, that's how much, people will get concrete numbers, in other words, for each purchase.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's the town that's gonna vote on each purchase that's made in the future, if this is set up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of the
There'll be a
law.
public hearing.
And it has to be public hearing, so everybody has a voice in it. It's not, if you say, that's ridiculous. And I think that, just give me 1 second, Jerry. I think that it's important to think about that the methodology that the advisory committee going forward and the town would have to consider follows the plan, right? So they would have to have a motivating reason to buy a particular property, because that property is important, because it's a historic building, because it's sitting on top of an aquifer and somebody wants to put a gas station there, or it's, you know, it's something like
The
that.
state would close that.
The state
I-
will
I-
The state would close that.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. But that's,
You have
Yes.
disagree. Come on, that's it.
No, it's
more
there is,
The point is that each specific one will be up, like there
Yes.
won't be.
It's just
as many
like more
hypotheticals.
government stepping into a high.
Yeah.
Overstepping.
Jerry, you got a question?
Yeah, 'cause I have to get outside
Yeah.
because we're so rich in the town now, we can't afford the air conditioning. And for somebody who has shot lungs or shot heart, and I can't bring up 9/11 because I guess everybody was there working for that year I was there. I gotta get outside to start my truck to put the air conditioner on. Thank God my wife is here to hear, but I'm gonna say this and then I'm done. And there's a fellow member here, anybody else wants to put up their hands, on December 27th, I know that Randy Hornbeck and myself, including my wife, we received a notification of the entire changing of the zoning that I sat on almost 20 years ago. We thought we had settled that all with zoning. Well, guess what? That has not been settled yet by this board. You walked into a hellstorm because that first Saturday, you didn't know squat, and I'm sure you said, what the hell did I get into? Well, this should be settled, and I know there's 3 members here of the town board. This should be settled before we go on to the next thing, because not for nothing, this is a smokescreen for already a problem of which people contact me regularly. What's going on, Jerry? What's going on? Well, we don't know, because this thing just keeps dragging on. And I'll tell you what, I'm getting outside because this is, I can't stay in here because of my conditions, but this is a horrible, to have a meeting on a Saturday morning, which you can't turn the air conditioner, I know we have it, that's very big.
Just,
So
I
I'm
can turn
done,
it down.
I'm fed up. And I've been here, I'm sorry, 51 years and I've never seen it get this bad. Cindy, let me know. Bastard.
We can, condition it.
I agree with you. You should finish what you started first. The zoning is BS, it's been going on 7 months. The townspeople are laying in bed every night wondering what you're gonna do with my land. Let's get it on. Let's finish it and let's go to war or just leave it alone. Best thing you should do, my opinion is, Aaron, when you took over, you should have just said, forget the whole thing. You know, that's just my opinion. Well, enough is enough.
Feel like this is so that they can take
This
part
would be
of
the
that.
last thing we're worried about in town, when you have 500 and something parcels out there that can potentially change it. You know, it's gonna be a hellstorm. Let's finish one thing before we go to another,
If we even get to the next.
you know?
I don't know about this.
I feel like this
There
is.
should be
like
no
you can
change to any of the
purchase
zoning.
those.
Zoning
I
should be
don't think
fine.
this is so if you do that,
We'll change it all.
Lands from those people that are questioning whether or not they have, like Jerry and Randy are saying, like you haven't finished that zoning. But this is what, so you can purchase that and then you can make it the zoning you want it to? That's how I feel, like that's just a little, let's slide this in and then we can offer them this and then we'll make it what we want it.
They're unrelated issues
Right.
in terms of,
Perception. Like it's.
well, I mean, they're, you know, we, the committee of the town appointed, had no, it was not a consideration for us at all
What the
about,
public perception is, what it is.
Fair enough.
You can't argue with it.
Yeah.
People are gonna think, people are gonna understand, people see through it, and in this country right now, people are seeing through big government. We don't want it.
well, you know, I don't think that this is big government. I think this is, you know, this is small government. This is democracy with a small d that is happening here. This is.
We're a constitutional republic, we're not a democracy, so I'm so tired of people saying democracy.
We are
We're a
having
constitutional
public
republic.
information sessions, so
It's
people can
not
ask
too
questions.
old, people know what's the bus.
We're having public information sessions, so people can ask questions and educate themselves about the plan, the work that we've done, and what we have presented for consideration. So people have the opportunity to come and talk about it. People have the opportunity to talk to the.
This is actually
Can I
going
get it? Just allow me to finish.
Government over
Just allow me to
stepping the boundaries. Even you
Can I-
make this families overstepping your boundaries.
Would you allow me to finish?
Yeah, but
Okay.
you're overstepping your
Then,
boundaries.
then just allow me to finish. So this is, we're really working to have an open process here. This is the plan that this committee presented to the town. It's proposed laws. So this part is part of answering those questions that are coming up. It will be up for consideration by the town. There will be a public comment period where people can come to an official town meeting and talk about that. And there will be, you know, if they do vote forward, it will be up to a referendum. So it's all up to the voter and whether they want to participate in it. And I don't see how it can be any more open than that.
Well,
And everybody-
something that's important, there should be a newsletter sent out to every address of the resident. not just a little posted thing, because I didn't even hear anything about this until Jerry told me about it.
Okay.
So, I mean, newsletter should be sent out.
Okay, so this was put up as public notices. We did have, it's been mentioned in when the committee was formed, the ad hoc committee, of what it was gonna do.
When was this all posted?
This is all posted in the.
You have an email, sir? Do you have an email? No, I don't. I have a mailbox, though.
Well, this was all public notice that was put up on whatever the format you use for a public
Especially
notice.
they have letters.
Well, the thing is
So
that,
they
you know,
get-
all right, I'm just gonna take that point, because somebody has mentioned that to me before. If everybody's concerned about taxes, you know, what is the cost of sending a letter to every
Cheap
resident in
compared to
town?
what this would cost. from Walmart.
I disagree. I disagree.
They sent out 500 and something letters 3 days before Thanksgiving, trying to be slick. To all these homeowners that are gonna change the zoning.
So I think
Everybody a
that,
letter.
you know, we are here, this committee is here, the representative of this committee here, to be open about what we've been doing.
Did you hear what he said?
Yes, I did,
Okay,
and I have
so-
nothing to do with that.
So
I'm
that,
not-
with the cost of that, doesn't hold water with what you said.
That's an official notice, right, that they had to identify to particular taxpayers. It
Well,
wasn't,
it's being a
it wasn't-
notice that you're having a
it wasn't
meeting
sent
on-
out to the entire town, correct, Randy?
No, it was sent to anybody who was gonna be affected, but they also
Exactly.
changed parcels prior to that and never notified people.
Okay, I mean, I'm not a town board member.
Right.
I'm a member of this ad hoc committee, so we're getting into stuff that I can't speak
But
to.
if you'd like, we can wrap up the
Yeah.
information session about this topic.
Yep.
And I'm happy to hang out and
Yep.
just discuss some of these concerns
Yep.
and how we can improve communication.
Here's
through
your
the town.
opportunity, right here, because this is, you know, designed to be an informal public information session for this particular issue. You know, just to be very clear, our committee has nothing to do with the zoning, has nothing to do with code enforcement, has nothing to do, our whole plan here was to work on this committee, present it to the town board, and then this is, you know, our attempt to answer
You're
questions.
your committee, and I don't agree that the town should be buying property.
Okay, there,
If we buy anything, let's buy the ones that go in a back tax and develop that, sell it to young couples, develop it into the thing, get more tax revenue into the town, develop with young couples, young families.
Okay.
Because they need a break.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
too.
well, bring that up to the town board.
Young non-urban people that are relatives, children, grandchildren of the founding people of this
Sure.
community who want to stay here.
Yep.
Stay here.
I mean, I just read an
That's
article,
better.
27% of Americans are skipping meals because of the cost of food. And you guys are talking about raising taxes, buying stuff. That's insane. It's insane. Do you have common sense?
I view it as a separate thing because you don't have to participate. You know, this is a
Well,
thing.
with the laws that you're gonna make on the border and all that, that's gonna affect people.
I think that, yeah, well,
It's gonna affect people. You're sticking your nose in other people's business.
it's,
Worry about yourself. Don't worry about other people's stuff.
well, I think that we have, as a community, we have a right to be concerned about
You
clean water.
don't have a right to tell somebody what they can do with their property that they.
You do when it affects your property.
You know, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Read the Constitution, all right? The government really is overstepping the boundary, way overstepping.
Cindy?
You have a ratio of adults and children who are under the age of 18. What about people who are on fixed incomes who are in the area? And you have the under 18, over 65. I mean, people can't afford to stay here any longer if you continue doing this. And the young people can't afford to even live here if they wanted to stay. Like, you're just pushing everybody out of here. You're not gonna have
Maybe that's by
anything but
design.
laws left.
By
That's it.
design. That could be completely by design. And again, perception. This may not be what we want people to know, but this is how people are feeling. And I'm glad I can speak here and say this.
Yeah.
I'm glad I can. I'm thankful for that.
You know, this whole thing only works if we all express our voices.
Right.
Right?
I appreciate that.
I wanna know, like, how many people on these boards have children who actually would like to stay here, but I wanna know if they're on fixed incomes, can they really afford everything that they're pushing? Can their children afford everything that's being pushed? I mean, my daughter would love to stay here, I don't know if she's going to be able to afford to stay there. I don't even know if we'll be able to afford to stay there. And probably half the people that live in this town, I mean, it's disgusting, it's sad. I work in retail, I see how everything goes up. I shop just like everybody else. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I'm not even engaging in, oh, let's buy this, let's do this, let's do this. And that, to me, this sounds like another, oh, let's go on a Hawaiian vacation. You know, we're not doing that in our own homes. But I feel like the town is now embarking on this as a means of, you know what I mean? It's overstepping financially. That's my opinion.
Can I say?
Yeah, go
something?
ahead.
Yeah, I'm on the ad hoc committee. See you at meeting. And I just want to thank you for your comments. I don't want to reignite it with other people if we get avoided, but you raise a tax base issue, that the total base of taxes may go down because the town will buy a property, take it off, we won't be paying taxes anymore. And I think that's an issue we did not get into deeply. We've been on sort of a fast track here, but I do thank you for raising it. You probably should have, I probably should have thought of it as an issue to look into. I'm not sure where I go with it, but I can probably do it over the next week, and before the next public meeting, I will be trying to find out more about what the tax impact has been on the towns that have passed it already, and see if we can learn anything from their experience. Some of them may be, some of them are wealthier than this too. No question. I'm not sure that they all are, but in any case, we could maybe get some useful, I would love to get some useful information on what happened to property values that they think they can attribute to their version of this, what has happened to their tax base, and play it out. Sometimes there are surprising things that go on,
Yeah.
and I think we should look into them.
But
So-
my guess, I mean, without doing the research you say you wanna
Right.
do, my guess is that it doesn't bother them. That they have $1 million portfolios anyway.
No, I-
What's not a $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 increase
I understand.
annually, like compounding? To them, it doesn't matter, money is no object. Your money is no object.
Right, no, and then you see that we were aware of that in general in terms of having the level below which there would not be a tax for people buying new homes that were below the median. There would be no such initial tax paid by the buyer. It does not answer your question about tax. I understand that, and that's why I'm
Okay, I
appreciating
appreciate
it.
you checking into it.
I will.
love it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're fine.
But if you don't have a surplus of money at the end of your budget year, any property you take off the tax roll is gonna increase the taxes on people.
Yeah,
It's right
I
there.
know, I
It's common sense, right
I'm
there.
good at it. Yes, no,
So basically, if you don't have a surplus, you shouldn't be buying anything.
I get it.
I mean,
There may be other factors involved in it.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear.
And I want to
more.
find out.
Yeah, let's go. Just so you know, Larry is an economist, so this is something. that he-
Whoa,
Oh, Jesus, don't tell him that.
No, he's legitimate, so. So,
What's a legitimate?
Professional,
economist?
yeah.
Let's not go there.
economist by profession, we should say. So you can, but the idea is I thank you all for coming out for this, and the idea is that we just, have an opportunity to, to talk about it, to present it, to answer questions, to give you more information, give you access to it. Again, there's an FAQ that you can take with you. There, if you think of more questions, come back to one of the other information sessions we have. And then the public hearing is coming up on July 11th.
At what time is that hearing?
6:30.
Huh?
6:30.
6:30, yeah.
Where?
So-
That's here?
Here, yeah, it's a regular town board meeting. So, yeah, Emily?
I think it would be useful to say where the next public info sessions
Yep.
are,
Yep.
because if they're intentionally designed so people who it
Yeah.
might be harder to get to.
Yeah, we talked about that, but yeah, so just to be clear, and they're posted around town, both in the, on the door here, at the town hall, the post office, different businesses around town have been putting them around, because we want people to know about this. We want people to come to them. So the next one we're doing is 6 o'clock at the Accord Fire Company Social Hall. And full disclosure, because I am in the fire department, the air conditioning is not working over there completely. So it will potentially be warm there, but so that's the next one, 6 o'clock on the Accord Fire Company Social Hall, and then we're also doing one on July 7th, Sunday afternoon. And that's at Rochester Company 2 Social Hall up there. And the idea was that we wanted to do public information sessions to give people the opportunity to do it. We wanted to do it at times that try to accommodate people's schedules with life and work and everything else.
So does the committee already have properties in mind?
No, no, that's not our role.
I'm just.
Yes, no, not our role, not our role at all.
Who would determine?
As I said before, part of one of the laws that will be passed will be potentially is proposed, I should say, is that there will be, the town board will appoint an advisory committee of, I think, I don't know how many people it is, but it's specified.
5 or 7.
5 or 7. It's stipulated in law that there's a farmer involved in that as well. The idea is to get a diversity of voices to be on that committee, which is an advisory committee. They will look at either properties that have come to them or properties that they are interested in that are already for sale. Or if they want to look at development, excuse me 1 second. Potentially development rights is the other tool in this thing, that they could protect farmland to maintain as farm. That's another option that could be done with that. That advisory committee will present to the town, and then the town will decide whether they want to move forward. It's just like any other legislation, the town board at the time, and it could be these people, could be other people. The advisory committee, same thing. It's ongoing. It has to be reassessed every 5 years, this program. And so that committee will present to the town board. The town board will decide what they want to do with it. Anything that goes forward has to go to public hearing before any decision is made.
So the way this sounds is the town wouldn't even be able to buy property for at least 3-4 years down the road, because they're only taking the money from that fund, that interest, that 1.5%. So that's really, if we don't sell a lot of homes in the town, you're not gonna have a lot of money in that fund. And
That could happen.
they may never have enough to even buy any property.
That could happen. It could happen. The good thing about the median, the good thing in my opinion about the median that the town board has chosen is it's the town of Rochester median. So it's the median for this particular town in this particular, it's not Ulster County. Ulster County is a lower median, which initially you'd say, oh, it's a lower median, it's better. But that means that any proposed tax would affect the property below that median. So there's a lot, if you look at the tax sale, you look at the sales of property in the town of Rochester, there's a ton of properties that are below $447,000 that go for sale.
They may never have enough money to buy any property.
That's entirely possible. But the important thing is that it does allow an entity, the creation of this community preservation fund and the community preservation plan. The fund allows people to donate either property or funds, which could happen. There are organizations that do that. It opens up the fund to the town for grants, state and federal grants. I know the Osterhout Flats property, they got a grant for $500,000. As soon as they applied for that, they voted the fund in and the plan in, they got a grant for $500,000 from New York State Environmental Bond Act. And that was, went right to the purchase of that property. And that was money that would not be opened without that. So that is an important thing, is the opportunity to get outside matching funds. And as I said, Warwick has been very successful in matching and making their dollars go farther with it. So, Dorian?
Yeah, I'm sorry, please clarify that the area already identified.
Yes.
There were priorities in all those maps.
Yes.
Indicating, showing which area.
Yeah.
First priority, second priority, on a different scale.
Yep.
And then scale combined. For example, like a water, there is one map for water, and another map for environment, and another map that combined.
The state already has regulations on all that.
Not enough.
Yeah, they have
Not
regulations on all that.
Regulation, not
The
some of
state,
them.
you check into it, the state has regulations on water and all that stuff.
So I'm just explaining the stuff, the areas already identified, if you look at it.
Yeah, I'll explain that. There are 8 maps out here on the table. One is existing as everything is right now with protected lands. And that would cover, everything from, if you look at the town of Rochester, we have Minnewaska and Mohonk on that side that is already protected. We have the Sundown State Forest on the other end of Cherrytown that is already protected. Those lands are already protected. So it's essentially, it's a collar of land that is already protected. And the 7 other maps are each one of the specific areas, farmland, water, biodiversity, cultural, recreation trails, scenic views. And then there's a map that is combined of all of those priority areas. Each property was identified, and it's very important to note that the properties are identified to be inclusive. If the properties are not identified as being having a value, they cannot be accessed by this program. So it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. That's the overall score map for everything. And the take a look at them, because the color coding is sort of explains the priority areas for different things. Sorry.
One more thing about taxation. Yes, it's gonna add the tax, but just recently we were discussing rescue squad taxation. So community decided it was important for the community. So now everybody paying for rescue squad. The same thing gonna happen. If community decide it's not important, they're not gonna work on it.
Right, but the community's gotta know about it. That's why I'm saying it's.
Well, it's fixable.
So everybody knows about it, so the community.
Down,
Not just
a
saying.
handful of resources, they will send a paper notification, but nowadays everybody has an email. You can put your email address right in the town website, and automatically every update comes to your email.
Yeah, I got a newsletter right in the mailbox.
Well,
I get the emails every week from different public meetings that happen, and I go to the ones that I find interesting or maybe affect me, so that I can. So
I think
I don't have email, okay, and sometimes my spectrum goes down, I don't even have a phone, okay? But I have a mailbox. Every day that mailbox is there. It doesn't move. It's there every day. I go, it's the same place. And I can get it right from that mailbox. You could set that up.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think we've definitely been talking about reinstating a newsletter.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that.
right, but that's why they're all.
I think it's,
Yeah.
I just want, in terms of communication, I just wanna acknowledge, we have not had really good communication. I wanna acknowledge that, and it's something that I think is really important. Doing more mailings about things, reaching people that are impacted, doing a better job, everything that everyone is saying, I agree with. And
Well, thanks for acknowledging.
I just wanna say that, like,
Yeah.
very heard, and we're working on it, and I do think we've been talking about getting more things mailed out to people. We've been talking about doing a newsletter, so.
Yeah.
We're working on this stuff, so.
Yeah, for everybody out there in the world, if there's anybody out there, in the great YouTube ethernet or whatever, the town does have the ability to send notifications about meetings, important meetings, and I know that it's something that I get every week about public notices. It's one mechanism as well as the papers that they're required to put it in public notices. Your point is well taken. But I find, to stay current, having an email notification, I look at it and then I go to the town board agenda and I say, or the planning board agenda or whatever agenda it is, I look at it and I say, this doesn't affect me, or I'm interested in that, and I may tune in or step in and show up. And so that information is out there. As Aaron said, they're working on, moving forward, making the town board. And again, I'm not on the town board. I'm just working on this ad hoc committee. So, but this is an opportunity to, talk to Aaron and Emily and while they're here, in this session, this is all about people expressing their opinions. So, and if I don't want to drone on anymore, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you guys want to look at the map, look at the program, or talk to any of us. Christy is a member of the committee. Larry's a member of the committee. Aaron's here. Emily's here. That's that. We're here kind of casually Michael's back there. So you're here casually to answer questions one-on-one, privately, publicly, whatever you guys want to do, and just look at the maps. But I would urge everybody to take a look at the plan, because if nothing else, whether you like it or don't like it, it's a great look at what the town is and what the town has done. And it was inspiring for us as a committee to look at the documents and the work that has been done in this town to create the town that we live in now, going back to the 1969 plan. And again, that was done by the residents and the community of the town, just like we're doing here right now today. So that's all I got. So I don't know if Larry has any questions, any statements, or Christie, or.
Peter, thank you so much. You did a great job.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, so I'm gonna end this.
Okay.